Besides, my balls are fully inflated.
Oh, there's our rating. Our rating's just going to go.
Footballs!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Tuesday night, and it's Tuesday night with Ben Stowe. Good evening, Ben.
Good evening, John.
It is our post-Super Bowl show tonight, celebrating the Patriots' victory.
I'm celebrating the massive amount of food that I consumed last night.
I saw that. That was a pretty impressive spread that she made for you.
My wife is pretty awesome, not going to lie, but we actually had quite a few of my coworkers from Mental Effects over, and everybody brought something. Brad from marketing brought this epic sandwich thing. Sam, who's one of the engineers, makes amazing ribs, and he brought those, and then he brought over a football-shaped crock pot of little smoky hot dogs, which my son ate half of and consequently was throwing up at 2 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, but it was just great that everybody brought something, and I mean, oh my goodness, just the food. The food.
That's a successful Super Bowl party. Who cares about the game?
Yeah, Philip brought it. Everybody brought something. You know, it was fantastic. Everybody brought something, and it was just too much food. So we enjoyed that. You know, and of course, a game that was close down to the end, and you know, I mean, being in Minnesota, we're not really Patriots or Seahawks fans. It was kind of fun that one of my kids picked one team, and so the other, of course, the oldest she was watching the game with her boyfriend, and that was whatever. But my two youngest kids, one of them picked a team, so the other one picked the other team. It was just, you know, just like that. And anyway.
So there's a cheer over here. There's a cheer over there. And then at the end, there's a groan and a cheer.
It's more like the facial expressions and the taunts as each team would score back across the room, you know.
Oh, good stuff. You gotta love the kids getting into sports like that. Good stuff. And, of course, to celebrate the Patriots' victory, I see that you dressed up for tonight's show.
Well, if you're making a Belichick reference, no, that's not why I wore a hooded sweatshirt. I understand we're going to talk about rigging tonight, and this is my rigging sweatshirt. Besides, my balls are fully inflated.
Well, there's our rating. Our rating's just going to go.
Footballs! Knucklehead.
I wasn't sure what
I would not lower myself to sophomoric references to balls in a national press conference.
Yeah, exactly. No, that would be a bad thing. Fart jokes maybe, but not. So as Ben alluded,
I'd do anything for ratings, whatever.
That's right. Get people to watch. Go to the YouTube channel.
Actually, it's a true story. So Bemidji has an arena football team.
Okay.
A local, you know, professional football team, and the owner of the team contacted me via Twitter and said, "Would you be willing to do some kind of a scientific video proving that our footballs are properly inflated?" And apparently, he also tweeted Bill Nye the Science Guy, and I think Bill Nye is probably just a lot more expensive than me, so. So stay tuned for yet another video with more sophomore references to balls being inflated.
What an awesome gig. What do? Oh, I come around and I test your ball.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so many ways we could go, and they would all be bad.
For those who are following my Twitter, they saw this, but I replied this morning that it's 22 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit out this morning. That'll deflate your balls. So
It will.
Because the molecules contract in cold air, and your football will contract.
It does, and it's incredible. For those of you in warmer climates, in the wintertime, yes, we do have to add additional air to the tires on our vehicles because it compresses, lose pressure, and we have to do that every winter. But tonight, of course, Ben already alluded to, we're going to talk about rigging a little bit. And the big reason for this is I'm watching the Super Bowl last night, and halftime show comes on. Katy Perry is on stage doing her thing, and truthfully, Ben Stowe is the first person I thought of. But you got to see the picture. Let's pop over to the picture, Ben. We'll pop that up so people can understand what I'm talking about.
Now, wait a minute. You saw that, and you thought of me.
Yeah. And it wasn't because that you have fabulous legs, which you probably do, after especially walking through now.
No, I really don't, but really don't.
But as for those of you who watch the game, which I'm pretty sure most everyone has watched it, or you've seen this part of the video, towards the end, Katy jumps on this little platform there, or she's on this little platform, and she's up and actually kind of circles the field on this shooting star during the song. I believe it was Fireworks is the song. Now, here's where it gets back to Ben Stowe. As I'm seeing this, the first thing I'm thinking is, my gosh, is that safe? And then secondly, is I wonder how they've hidden the rigging to make her safe on that little platform, because as you see, she's not standing, flat-footed and in a good balanced stance. So, Ben, that's why I thought of you. So let's...
Nice save.
How and again, this is kind of getting some theatrical things in, but beyond the typical DJ. But there's always, we see things like this, and we have to ask ourselves, how did they do that?
Well, it's interesting because, again, having a lot of coworkers from Mental Effects over, it takes some of the fun out of these things. It certainly takes the magic out of it. As soon as she came out with the microphone with the strap on it, immediately somebody shouted, "They're going to fly her!" Just so we know what's coming, we know what's going on. And two, of course, we those of us who are old enough all shouted, "The more you know!" as soon as we saw the shooting star. But anyway,
that just aged us right there again.
There was quite a few of us that shouted that. So those things took some of the fun out of it. Of course, this is things that we're aware of and things that exist in our universe. Of course, the other thing was all the references to the Wiimote. We all laughed about that a little bit last night.
Yes, as we did also. And she had that, and it's like the kids she's singing into a Wii remote, and it's like no, that's not it. But they're going to do something with her that she could potentially drop the microphone on people.
Right, exactly. And that's a great segue back to your question about safety. First and foremost, the mic is tethered so that she doesn't lose it. And, of course, it doesn't land on anybody. Just a lot of good reasons when you're in the air that things are tethered to you. And two, is it safe? Oh, you can absolutely bet that it was safe for lots of reasons, not the least of which being that she's the meal ticket. She's the talent. And a friend of mine, one of the guys that I trained under as a rigger, he was actually coordinating all of her flying when she was over in Abu Dhabi. Now it doesn't matter if it's Katy Perry or I worked, briefly with Pink, who does a lot of aerial acrobatics. Again, the person that I referenced to that I trained under also was a head rigger for Cirque du Soleil for many, many, many years, coordinated and designed and trained all the riggers for all of the Cirque shows in Vegas. It doesn't really matter who you're flying. First and foremost, they're the talent, and they have to be absolutely safe. Just no 99.9%. They have to be 100% safe. Two, so does everybody else.
Yeah.
It's funny for your viewers that watch your channel all week. Last night in the Bill and Jason show, I joked that if at first you don't succeed, rigging isn't for you. But it's true. It's a business where you really can't make mistakes. Mistakes can be very devastating. They can be fatal and in a large scale. So you can bet it was safe. How is a little more involved, and I can speak to how I think they did it. I haven't talked to the riggers involved in this production, and I haven't called the person I was just alluding to that I trained under. I thought about it. I thought, I wonder. But there's really one principal way they do it, and you have towers going up, and you have aircraft cable on very, very precisely controlled computerized winches, so that some winches spool out while other winches spool in, and that allows you to fly this person around and control their movements with those four axes. The other thing is you can bet that she herself was tethered to that platform. Now that gets into a little bit more of the theatrical element. What I do for rigging is essentially I'm tethering myself so that I don't fall out of the steel. I don't have to look pretty or elegant or coordinated. I just have to stay in the air.
Yeah.
she has to, of course, look like a performer and look like a star, and you don't want to see a lot of big, bulky rigging hardware hanging off of her. And it reminds me of again, this gentleman that I trained under, he was showing me samples of the thread they used to mind you, the thread they used to suspend Chris Angel. Sorry, spoiler alert, he's not really flying. We're probably going to get sued for that. But anyway, I've seen the thread, and think about like a spider. Maybe it's very, very thin, very hard to see, but very, very strong. You don't want to drop Chris Angel or Katy Perry or whoever. Mm-hmm. In this case, there was probably some type of a corset or a bodysuit or something that is structurally sound, wrapped around her with some type of an attachment point, a dorsal ring or something in the back. This is a good segue kind of to the technology that we talk about in rigging as show riggers. There's what we call fall arrest and fall prevention.
Okay.
Fall arrest is designed to stop you if you fall. Fall prevention is designed to keep you from falling in the first place. And undoubtedly, that's the type of thing that Katy had. It's designed to keep her from leaving that platform at all.
Okay.
And she may have had a secondary type of system. I don't know. But that's probably what we had. Is we had these winches that are moving her at 15 or 20 feet per second, around by spooling cable in and out, and on the platform. And then she was attached to the platform. And of course, her microphone was remoted to her.
Yeah.
So that's the likely science behind that. Now, by the way, these winches are, again, I mentioned computer control because you can imagine you have all these things going on. You have, inertia. Newton tells us every action has an opposite and equal reaction. Mm-hmm. So everything that's moving, anything in motion, all these forces, with weight, speed, all that sort of thing, all has to be very, very carefully accounted for. And if there's one thing, and I can't speak for all riggers, but I'll attempt to. I would submit that if there's one thing riggers hate, it's movement. Me personally, I hate anything moving in the air because there's all these forces that have to be accounted for somewhere, somehow.
Sure. And in a situation like that, they've got multiple directions going up and going left and right and forward and backward. There's just a ton of possibilities for problems there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, mad props to Pink. She's an incredible athlete, and watching her show, again, knowing the science and technology behind it, having hung those points in the air, and thinking all the while, please let this not be the day you killed Pink, but. Morbid, but I think riggers, kind of, again, I can't speak for all riggers, but I know that I really think about that a lot. That what goes up has to stay there till I take it down. But she's doing all these aerial acrobatics and she's moving around. And granted, there's a lot smarter people than me that engineered this and designed this. And many engineers have looked at it and signed off on it. But we don't have to think long into history to remember the recent circus accident. And to understand that even when professionals are involved, things can go horribly, horribly wrong. I just, watching Pink perform, mad props to her.
Yeah. And you mentioned, of course, professionals involved with this, because a lot of times with the DJs, we like to be kind of a DIY world. But I think, even granted, the Super Bowl is huge, but I mean, there's a lot of smaller events that really should be left, and things should be left to professionals.
Yeah, again, I said it earlier, and I was kind of joking. If at first you don't succeed, but rigging is not the place to. It's not the place to experiment. Yeah. You should deal in known absolutes. Deal with rated hardware and tried and true practices, and trained and experienced professionals. And again, I've had the good fortune to work alongside and train alongside people who are far, far better riggers than me. And while the whole DJ industry looks to me as an expert, I can tell you that in some of these situations, I'm very comforted by the fact that there's somebody next to me that I regard as an expert, that I would turn to and say, what are we doing here? Somebody else take this buck. I'm passing it because you're a better qualified expert than me. And that's, yeah, just, boy, I don't want to beat the horse, but It's pretty terrifying, you know. And well, I don't know. I don't want to say. I just tell you, DJs, please don't guess. Should, probably, and oughta are three words you should never use when you're putting stuff in the air.
Yeah, for surely. When you're putting things together, especially at that level, there's, you know, even some of the bar mitzvah things. I've seen some things from some of the guys who are putting together a bar mitzvah, and they're doing some things that are awesome, but the safety is such a high priority when you're doing those things. At
any level, anytime something goes over somebody's head, now we have potential energy in the air, and if it falls, you know, catastrophic things can happen. It doesn't have to kill them to cost you a lot of money. Simply a lighting fixture cutting a person's face and creating a permanent scar, you could get sued for millions over that, I would imagine. I don't know what, but I would just point out things like the circus accident, or more notably the Indiana State Fair collapse with Sugarland concert, or the collapse that nearly killed Justin Timberlake. You know, these were all done by professionals, and it's easy to sit on the sidelines and poke fun at these people, but they are proficient and professional and qualified people. And if you think you'll do better by guessing, you are dead wrong. Yeah. And somebody could be dead because of it. So that's the strongest words I'll use in the show. But I'll just say, boy, it's not the place to be arrogant and self-assured.
Yeah, certainly. So let's jump into, we saw Katy, and she looked fabulous up there, and she had her connections in one way, shape, or form. But now, for those who've never really seen a rigging harness up close, can you show us and give us some kind of, you know, walk us through what is some of the equipment that you use when you're up there rigging lights or rigging different mechanisms up in the rafters of some of these venues?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Let's reset real quick here, and let me grab my own harness.
So now, Ben, we've talked about your outfit a few times, but this is something that I think most DJs probably have never seen, not only on you, but I don't think many of them have seen these things in real life. So can kind of go through what we're looking at.
Well, I've only modeled this for DJs a couple times, once being at your show and once being at a training in Las Vegas. But what we're seeing here is a fall arrest harness. This is a single-use harness, meaning that you get one fall, and the harness has then lived its useful life. Now, I've worn it hundreds of times, and I haven't fallen, so all is well with the world. But after one fall, this harness is done. It's not designed for permanent flying applications. It's not designed to pick me up and fly me around in the air. It's designed to prevent death if I slip off a beam or off a truss, and I've got 100 feet of air underneath me, you know, or 30 or whatever. And so you can see this is fairly bulky. It wouldn't work too well under an outfit like Katy Perry's. But anyway, what we have, this is called an H-style harness. There are H-style harnesses and Y-style harnesses. This is kind of an industrial fall arrest harness. Other people use harnesses from companies like Petzl, which makes rock climbing harnesses. Not to be confused with fall arrest harnesses. Petzl makes fall arrest harnesses. Don't use a rock climbing harness for fall arrest, okay? I'm not saying do that. But they have different ways that they go about things. This H harness has two straps that go over my shoulders and then the strap here. The whole idea is to keep this assembly intact. If I were to become inverted, I don't fall out of the harness this way. Doesn't do much good if the harness stays in the air and I don't.
Yep.
And then, of course, down below we've got two straps that go between my legs. This harness is adjusted for me, which is really nice. It's my harness, and I'm the only one that ever wears it. So it's quick connects. It's very quick to put on and take off, but it's a double action connection. It won't accidentally come apart in the air. Some of the fun, neat features about this harness. One, as you can see, these are my fall arrest lanyards. They connect on the back to a dorsal ring. This is not part of this harness. It's a separate piece that connects, and it's called a Y lanyard. And this allows me to work in the air, and if I come to a junction, I don't have to unclip and be not tethered. I can clip on the other side of it and then unclip here, so I can always be clipped in.
Okay, Ben, now you'll need to turn around and show us where that's connected, or how does that work?
All right, well, in the back here, there's what we call a dorsal ring. Right there. You know, see how well you can see it on video?
There we go. Yep.
Okay. And the idea here, and this is a really good segue to another feature I want to talk about of the harness. If you've ever seen a mother cat carry baby kittens, that's exactly the way that I want to be found in the air. I want to be hanging like this. That's the way that my body is the strongest and it will absorb the most impact. And there's some really interesting statistics about how much force you generate after falling just 6 feet. It can be thousands of pounds, up to 4,000 pounds. And theoretically, you could still die, according to OSHA anyway.
Yeah.
So my lanyards, you see they look kind of scrunchy. This lanyard will actually tear. As I am falling, the force of that will actually cause this to rip and tear inside. And that's okay, because it's designed to do that. It will still hold more than is necessary. And by the way, the necessary support point is 5,000 pounds. To tie off one human being, you have to have a point capable of holding 5,000 pounds. And that's, again, because of the force you generate. Well, when this tears out, it absorbs a lot of that energy.
Okay.
So theoretically, after a 6-foot fall, I would really only impact with about 900 pounds of force, which is still a lot. You're saying, wait a minute, Ben, you're not even quite 200 pounds. How do you impact with 900 pounds of force? Well, it's physics, friends. Anyway, it's also a fact. So this makes the landing a whole lot more bearable. And then again, I'm held by that dorsal ring. Now, there's two very important safety features of this harness. Not all harnesses have, but it was very important to me that mine did. And one of those is that if you look at my extra lanyard storage up here, I've got one lanyard hooked on and the other one is in storage. If I was to fall and this lanyard catches before this one does, this could potentially then cause me to hang sideways, which almost certainly the force of which would break my back. Mm. So you'd say, well, that sounds like a bad idea. It does, except this thing has a snap right here, which will snap apart under only about 20 pounds of force. And so that will come loose freely. I don't want to yank on it and risk...
damaging it, yeah.
Right. I want it to work when it's supposed to. But anyway, both of these are snapped like that. Moving down the harness, some other fun features is inside here. There's a log to keep updated every time the harness is inspected. The harness should be regularly inspected for wear and rubs and those kinds of things to make sure it's in good repair. And this is a RFID tag, a radio frequency identification tag. So the harness can be identified using an RFID scanner. Anyway, just a fun little neat thing if it's whatever. Anyway.
And who does inspections now? Is there some kind of a organization that does that, or is that something that you as a professional rigger would do?
Well, there are people who can professionally inspect your harness, but I'll tell you what, I inspect my own harness. I'm the guy that needs it to work, right? Mm-hmm. My son is still pretty young, but he's getting a little bit older and he's getting a little bit more sophisticated in the world. And working at our local arena, you maybe have a show call in the morning, and then at night you go back to strike after the concert is done, and the occasions where I'm just doing rigging work. And one night as I was getting ready to go back out of the house, my son was about 7 or so at the time. He says, kind of in a macho kind of way, sort of a guy, I don't really have emotions, but I do, he says, well, be careful, Dad. And I could see behind this veiled attempt to speak like a man was still a little boy who's now beginning to understand that the work his dad does is very dangerous. Yeah. It's amazing. Kids, they learn things you don't think they will. So I actually got down on a knee, so I was eye to eye with him, and I kind of went through the harness, and I said, now, son, you see what I have, and this harness and lanyard were, like $700, so on and so forth. And I said, the reason for that is that there is no job in the world that is more important than coming home to you. Mm-hmm. So wanted to impress upon him. So I inspect my own harness because I believe that. I believe that. I want to come home to my family, and I also don't want to put my coworkers at risk if I have a failure of some kind. This could get a little bit too long for our show, but I'll just simply say that there's another risk when you're hanging in the air, and that is that the pump in our bodies, our heart is a push pump, not a pull pump. And it circulates blood by blood pressure, by pushing out blood, and that causes the deoxygenated blood to return, so on and so forth. The process repeats. And hanging in the air, we've got these great big arteries going into our legs, the femoral arteries. They can be restricted, and the blood flow into our legs can be restricted. And that can cause a really big problem if we're not able to stand on our legs and use those leg muscles. So my harness also has inside these little round things, they're called trauma straps. So that if I'm ever hanging in the air, I can deploy these trauma straps and I can stand in it. It's kind of like a U-shaped rope that I can stand in and get, you know, off my legs and flex my legs. Or get off the straps is what I meant to say, and flex my legs so that my coworkers can enact a rescue. And we're all trained on how to rescue someone out of the air as well. It's very important that your coworkers understand their roles in a high steel rescue. We have tremendous love and respect for our friends in emergency medical services and the fire departments. I truly do, but this should be more familiar to us than it is to them. So we feel it's incumbent on ourselves to understand how to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, we are our own first line of protection. And we don't want to put firefighters or anybody else in danger going into a situation that's unfamiliar to them. We should just take care of business.
Yeah.
So those are the basic features of a fall arrest harness. Basically, the name of the game is to decelerate your fall and hold you in place safely and for as long as is necessary for a safe rescue. There are other types of devices. This would replace the Y lanyard, and this is called an SRL, which is a self-protracting lifeline. They've changed it now to something else. That word is outdated by, I don't know. Anyway, we're just going to stick with SRL. They keep changing it. This operates a lot like a seatbelt. I can move away from my work. I can go to where I need to go. But as soon as I start to fall, it locks up. I don't go any further. I stay right there.
Yeah.
The inside here, there's another RFID tag. And this pouch here contains folds like this that would tear out, and this lanyard would expand, thus further slowing my descent should I generate enough force to cause that to rip out.
Sure.
So that's pretty much fall arrest. Now, fall prevention, again, the whole idea is to keep Miss Perry on the platform, to keep her at a place of comfort and security where she can sing and perform. And you know, there's $100 million being invested in this event. We want the performance to be good, but of course, we want to ensure the safety of our talent and the audience as well.
Yeah, Ben, it's some great stuff tonight. Now, if we're going to give the guys watching tonight one last takeaway, what would that be?
Anytime you put somebody at risk by putting something over their head, it needs to be done with the proper equipment, rated and approved equipment, done by qualified professionals. If you are not a qualified professional, first I applaud you for acknowledging that, but you can become one. It's not an overnight process. It's not an online course. It's not even a weekend class or a week class. It's not necessarily about being certified, but being qualified. It's a process. You're going to have to work under a certified rigger or a qualified rigger for a while. Again, I still feel very much that way myself. I work, with some of the best riggers in the world, and I'm amazed at what I don't know. And I know that what I don't know is what's dangerous. So, I guess in short, be professionals, and sometimes being a professional is acknowledging what you don't know how to do.
Yep, and finding those around you who have that skill and ability and licensing, really, to do those types of things.
Yeah, it's just not worth it. Obviously be properly insured. Make sure your insurance company knows that you're, doing work at height and those sorts of things. But really, insurance is, that's the fire hose after the building has exploded, right? First and foremost, let's not put anybody at risk. Yeah. First and foremost, let's do things the right way so that people aren't injured. For sure.
Good words of advice there, Ben. Thank you guys for watching tonight. If you have any questions, please put those in the comments down below. Or if you're out on, you've got something you'd like us to cover, pop out to Facebook, go to look for Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe. You can put some comments there, questions, whatever you'd like, and we can maybe touch those in an upcoming episode. Ben, once again, thank you very much. Good stuff this evening.
Anytime, John.
This is John Young with the Disc Jockey News and Disc Jockey News TV, and Ben Stowe from NLFX Pro. Good night.